Good morning guys, James here. Something a little different for you today. You may recall, for those of you that subscribe and watch some of my previous videos, that I toured my Sunseeker Hawk that we'd had as a family for a few years, and today we're going to have a look around what we decided to replace her with. So there was a lot of debate within the family as to what would be the most suitable upgrade, if you like, for us, a growing family needing a separate second cabin and sort of proper onboard shower facilities and what have you, just to go a little bit further afield. So after much deliberation, we picked actually to go with a Karnic, which are Cypriot made. This boat was down in Italy, and one of the particular requirements I always wanted is to maintain the ability to trail the boat. So 3.5 ton obviously is the UK legal limit for towing. This one's right on that limit with a triple axle trailer, which I've kept from a previous boat. So today we're going to have a look round. This is a 2660 Bluewater, which is about 28.5 foot long. She's right borderline on the weight limit with a pair of inboard petrol V6 engines. Might think I'm slightly mad sticking with the petrol theme that we'd had in the previous boat, but I like the clean burning, the fast, efficient, sort of good power, and we don't, to be honest, do enough hours in a season to warrant the difference expense and suffering the performance of the small diesel engines on a boat of this size. So we've got a pair of 225 horsepower fuel injected V6s, very smooth. They've got a balance shaft in the middle, so they're very quiet and smooth on the water, good acceleration. The boat tops out just over 40 knots, which is plenty of power for getting up with skiers and carrying sort of 8 people on board if we're out on the water with friends for the day, what have you. So I say the boat was in northern Italy, one owner from new. It was 2004, lived in a shed every winter, and in typical yacht broker fashion, didn't go to see it. I didn't have it surveyed. I literally sent the guy the money, paid the full up retail for the boat. The market's very healthy in the last 12 months, so really I didn't have much choice. There weren't a number of these on the market. It was the only one I could find. So sent my transport company down from the UK back in November last year. It was important with the new VAT rules that we had to get it back into the UK before the end of last year to deem it UK VAT paid. So we've done that. We went through HMRC to get all the correct documentation so that we don't have any future issues selling it here. And it's all CE marked and what have you, so it's a proper EU boat. So we're just going to have a look around today. When I brought it back in, it was fairly original upholstery, no sort of synthetic decking, anything like that, original electronics. And we've done what was going to be a small overhaul this winter and then followed with more serious works next year. With the various lockdowns on, I decided I'd just go all out, try and get everything done before we put it in the water for the first time. So we've been working on her since November. I've done about 95% of it myself. I enjoy this. Is the main fun for me is the project overhaul side. You'll see on lots of my other refurb videos on the day job, if you like. I like to see what's created with new systems as they come onto market and what have you. So I've done the nav kit, added things like a bow thruster, diesel heating, interceptor trim tab system, underwater lights, upholstery, decking, new AV system, completely been through all the electrics, plumbing, water tanks, toilet. It's literally, it's bow to stern. Once it's finished, it'll be pretty much bare hull and engines and everything else will be replaced. It's a big project. I've spent a lot more than I planned originally, but that's always the way it goes when you get into projects and things that you find along the way, and also you take the opportunity to do things for future proofing and reliability on the water. So we're just set up in the cockpit here. Original canopies on at the moment. They come for the first fit of the new canopies, was done this week. We've done the modification to give us a bit more space in the cockpit with a more squared off camper style cover. Obviously the boat was out in Italy originally. Wasn't that important to have the covers up other than for a bit of sun protection. So we've got a much bigger squared off bimini, and I'm just today starting to fit in the new upholstery that's just arrived. In order to stay totally impartial in this, I just make it clear that everything on the boat I have actually purchased. Nothing's been free, but one of the really exciting things I wanted to announce to you today is that we are now officially ambassadors for Raymarine. So this is Fleer is the parent company, and they do navigation equipment, they do thermal imaging cameras, and lots of onboard really cool technical kit, which we're going to explain a lot more to you about in a future video. So working with them now going forward, we'll be bringing you videos on sort of how the kit works, some more detail about the installs as we've been through the motions of planning and fitting the systems into the boat, and then our experiences out on the water using the kit in real life. You'll know from my videos last year of my parents' boat, they also run Raymarine kit. It's just like whether you like your Apple or your Android phones, every navigation brand does it slightly differently, but fundamentally they've all got their own little quirks, and some of them have got some slightly different ideas with additional sort of systems, how they make life on board a little bit easier. So I was really excited with some of the new kit playing around on my dad's boat with the Raymarine that we fitted into that about 18 months ago, and it was that sold me onto fitting a system into my boat. So we'll have a look through that, I say, in due course, just to talk through what we planned and what we've actually ended up doing to the boat. Quite different things in the end. So I'm just going to spin the camera around and you can see now sort of progress on where the boat's up to. So we're set up here in the cockpit. Just rested the upholstery in place today. So these side bolsters have still got to be screwed up. They fit along sort of flush with the top lip there. This is done by a local company called Waveline Upholstery. Guy and his team done a very nice job. First time I've used them, very impressed. I was quite specific in what I wanted, which is this sort of diamond Bentley type stitching, double diamond stitch on the base cushions, still maintaining things like the Karnic logos in the back seat, and we've done it two-tone. So this has a carbon weave in the outer bolsters, and then it all blends quite nicely, and you can see the line there where the side bolster comes up. I'm actually picking a colour that works with the grey floor. It's very difficult. So this is an EVA foam deck done by Ty at Elite. Very nice job. It's all 3D designed on a computer and then comes on big sheets which you stick down with 3M double-sided adhesive, and it means that replacement, you'll see I've damaged the aft section here, that's you basically just call up and get a new piece sent out to you. You can swap that out in due course. Very, very hard wearing. It's a lot softer on the feet than something like an S-Tech or one of the hard synthetic decks. It's a little bit cheaper to work with, but for us with fishing and young kids and what have you, often in bare feet, I thought it was just a little bit softer underfoot. So we're going to give it a go and see how it goes. I've got some additional pieces to put in here underneath this seat cushion, as this is obviously the walkway out onto the bathing platform. We've got the engines under, there's a lift up hatch here, the forward locker also lifts up, give good access down there. So I'll just show you a little bit more, turn around here, you can see up forward now. So the canopy, the new canopy, will have two options. There'll be a drop down on the back here which will enclose this sort of forward end so that you can run with a small cockpit area and tuck down by your feet there. I'll put the diesel heating outlet just to warm up the front if we just want a small area for winter boating. And then in the summer, I say there'll be this off the back here, there'll be a big sort of 45-degree aft canopy that drops down behind the back seat, roll up side panels, and that gives us a much bigger, more social area. The helm seat, see this got a lift up bolster here. It's not bolted in place at the moment, gives you a bit more standing room when you're docking. It's a little bit low for me at the moment, so I'm going to block that up. I've got a new rotating base to come for that, so that we can turn it round at anchor, make it a little bit more social as then part of the cockpit. The dash has all been totally removed, so just loosely placed this back in today to do the video before I get back into the works, but you'll see lots of holes in the dash at the moment. I'll cut into a picture in a sec showing just what the dashboard looked like originally. It had a single Lawrence chart plotter up in the dash there. Previous owner had just been doing local boating on the northeast Italian coast. We're a lot more serious in what we get into, offshore fishing and what have you. So what started off as a plan with the Raymarine guys just to put two plotters into this top dash, I had a load of analog gauges in here from the engines originally, and then an old VHF radio and an anchor chain counter was sat up here. We then decided phase one would be to add the new Axioms. These are 9-inch plus Axiom displays up top, so I've got two of those. And then as my engines are on an early version of EVC Volvo's NEMA 2000 system, decided to ditch all of the analog gauges, and I've now put two 7-inch axioms into this lower dash. Only things I had to keep over this side analog form are the LCD trim gauges, which are just wiring in, and then over there I'm going to cut a hole to fit the fuel gauge, which is on a new NEMA 2000 network. I've gone with a big NEMA network system, which is linking in my tank monitoring, battery monitoring, all the navigation kit, trim tab systems, underwater lights and what have you. So you'll see up top here we've gone with a P70RS Raymarine head unit for the autopilot system. That presented a number of challenges in itself, as the boat used to run a cable steering system, and whilst there are still some autopilot systems out there that work with cable, it was decided it would be much more straightforward to go with a hydraulic system. So I've had to make a new helm arrangement here, which blame the pandemic, but we couldn't get around helm, so I've got a square helm in there. Little bit of jiggery pokery, we've got that to look quite good. New banks of switches here, which are going to control navigation kit, onboard systems, and then I've got the lighting tucked down underneath there. The lower dash here is going to house a new Raymarine DSC VHF. This is the Fusion AV head unit, and then I've got a new anchor chain counter to go in there. Then tuck round over here, so we've got the bow thruster control. I've also putting in a remote control to hang around your neck for that. So coming down here underneath this, you see the tilt helm below. We've got the new DJI input socket for the Raymarine axiom displays, which means we can run the drone up along the boat, controlled off the plotters, so I'm quite excited to see how that works. And then this is Raymarine's twin, there's an input for micro SD card, which is obviously for the new Lighthouse Raymarine charts, and then we've also got an output charging socket for USB for your phone and what have you. It's quite handy to have. Then we've got a Lumilink Lumishore control box for the underwater lights, which gives different scenes here on that Carling switch. And then I've tidied up things like the switches, new ignition barrels, new fuses for the ignition circuits. These are lights controlled for the LCD trim gauges at night. And then hiding over on this side we've got the new Felmarine wireless keel cord system. Interested to see how that works. I've never had one of those on my boat before, but just makes it a little bit more practical walking around the boat in day-to-day use. If you're leaving the helm still protected, then we've got a bilge alarm system for if the pumps go off when you're sleeping at night. And then hidden under here, just everything's covered in blue tape at the moment to protect it, but this is the Interceptor trim tab system from Zipwake, which is gyro stabilized trim tabs, which was a later day addition to the systems. Then above, all nicely to hand here, just below the throttle box, this is an RMK10 Raymarine button panel to control the 4 screens. So they're all touchscreen, but obviously if you're bouncing around on a not such nice day, sat at the helm here, you've got complete control of the screens without getting up out of your seat. That was something I was really interested to try out, the basis that sometimes a fully touchscreen system can be a little bit troublesome to use. If you're on a smaller boat like this, you get a lot more wave movement and what have you. Obviously when you're running at speed, not quite so easy to hear the VHF, so I've gone with a nice speaker up here on the side panel, close to the captain if you like. And then we've got the additional autopilot remote control. I do a lot of trolling with my fishing, so I can put that around my neck, and then I've got control just to adjust the direction of the boat without having to come necessarily back to the helm. Then we come up here, so we've got the new Seastar throttle and gear controls here. I spent a lot of time looking at different options here, but for me I wanted something still with manual levers, and they're on Mach 0 cables, so very easy in and out of gear. And then a further upgrade was the dual engine trim on the side here, and then we've got buttons as well on the top here for adjusting the trim itself. Looking up on the dash here, so I say the axioms up top, hiding in the box behind here is all sorts of switches. We're running 4 Raymarine network switches for the Raynet system, which is like a power over Ethernet system. And then we run the separate C-Talk NG, which is the more of the NEMA 2000 style system to link everything together. So we've got a second nav card input here, as we're going to run a Navionics and that new Lighthouse Raymarine for a little bit of comparison between the two. We've got a dual USB outlet, and then this is an output for an Ethernet plug, special heavy duty plug, which is for our FLIR thermal imaging camera, which is something we'll be adding when we put a Raymarine radar and the Windex and various other ancillaries up onto the arch that we're having made at the moment, hopefully later this summer. And then tucked up under the windscreen here, so this one's going to be the AR200, which is the puck for the gyro stabilisation of the augmented reality system. And we'll go into that in a bit more detail. And then over here is the GPS antenna, standalone antenna for the AIS system, which is a legal requirement to have that separate to the main nav system. There's a couple of little supports to go back in here off the windscreen, so that's just a work in progress. It's got one more removal to wire in some final bits before I then get that sealed back down, ready for the big launch day. So some other things we've done down here, so we've got a fuel input here, little custom diesel tank that I've made here, fits just under the seat for the heating system. It's 25 litres and it burns 0.6 litres an hour at full output, so got plenty of heating capacity for a few days away on the water. And then we've got a pull-out deck wash hose, which is plugged in. I've done it dual, so it can do freshwater or seawater flush on that for when we're out fishing. Up above here, so we've got a little sort of icebox come drinks cooler and a sink with cold water. Put in some new LED low-level deck lights on some nice real carbon panels. You'll notice the dash was all carbon as well. It's still covered up plastic at the moment, and they've done some nice little inlaid steps. I've kept the theme with the decking on the seats and what have you at the back here, so when we're fishing we can take all the cushions off and keep the boat a lot more of a sort of commercial spec, easy to keep it clean. Low level deck lights here you'll see running around the decks, new fire extinguishers, and then this has been a big project. I'll show you the front and then the back. Not installed yet in its entirety, but this is my new electrics panel. So I've got the BEP battery isolator system here with 2 voltage sensing relays, so I can charge the domestic batteries either together or independently off the 2 engines when they're running. And then I've got things like a changeover switch over here at the back to run an inverter system into my shore power, upgraded from 16 to 32 amp on the shore power system. I've got an isolator down the bottom here for the bow thruster, and then some independent fuses in here for things like the zip weight control and emergency bilge pumps and what have you. And then this is my domestic electrics panel, so my 220 volt for my hot water system, which is an extra system I'm plumbing in at the moment, and then 2 battery chargers. Tucked up under the bulkhead there, so we've got again a charging point outlet for a 12 volt socket, so we can plug an additional fridge in if we're away for a few days. And then we've got a outdoor waterproof socket as well, handy to stick a jet wash into or what have you for cleaning. On the back here we've got a remote for the Fusion stereo system, and then a heavy duty 40 amp outlet where we can run a dinghy inflator pump for a tender or SUPs and what have you. A nice little feature they've done on the back seat cushion here is added this return to the cushion. So the original cushion was just plonked on the front, but I've gone for a tuck over the top there just to make it a bit more comfy when you're sat on the back seat here. Across here on the port side you can see again I've secondary fire extinguisher, very much overkill, all my safety kit. I've left enough room in the front here so that I can tuck a small life raft in here, which I'm going to put onto a cradle, single tube, just 4-man emergency for when we're out offshore fishing. Tucked up under the gunnels here, so we've got speakers. They obviously tie in with the front speakers up here, all on the amplifier, and then we've got a 600 watt sub as well, so we've got plenty of AV power. Let's just lift that up. We pop up the back seat here and you can see how the engines are laid out. So they're on a stern drive configuration, which means they run right at the back of the boat here. They've got nice pretty cam covers that sit on top here, but at the moment, say, there's just still lots of work going on. So early version of EVC allows us to add the Yacht devices data controller here, so I can output information from the from the ECUs at the back here into my NEMA network, and you'll see lots of NEMA network. This is the Raymarine Sea-Torque NG system, which starts down here next to the new bilge blower, and you see it's all nicely clipped and running through looms around the engines up onto that aft bulkhead, and then it runs off around the boat. You can see the throttle and gear cables are new at the back here. This is the zip wakes. This is the Interceptor trim tab system control box. This is the Lumishore underwater lighting box. This is the Raymarine ACU 150, which is the brain of the autopilot. Just wiring that in, so the protective cover's not on that, and I haven't quite finished the wiring yet. I say new 32 amp shore power inlet, and then I've put a galvanic isolator up there as well to keep the corrosion down on the underwater systems. Then tucked down the back, not finished the install yet, but I've put the rudder reference mounted onto the aft transom there, and that will be linked onto my steering bar, which runs in here. You can see new hoses running down. We've got big, huge capacity bilge pump down there, and then I've got a secondary small pump in the front here with a float switch, just for day-to-day use. You can see new battery cables. Everything's done in 50 or 70mm battery cables. New fuel lines. And then the battery system itself, boat had two 100 amp hour batteries originally. I've doubled the capacity, so I've got two 105 amp. These are the starts, which sit outboard of the engines here, and then tucked underneath in the middle here, I had to build a new box. These are my new rolls, two 170 amp hour AGM gel batteries for my domestic system. Lots obviously systems on the boat, so they're just getting wired in at the moment. You can see on the forward bulkhead here, so I've got two battery chargers. I've still got some wiring to clip up here. Battery chargers are on some switches here, so I can turn them on and off independently if needed. And then I've got an outdoor waterproof socket here where I can run a 3G data card through a plug to maintain monitoring of a heating system in here in the winter, just to make sure my engines are protected as we keep the boat in commission all year round. I say new fuel lines here with taps and filters and what have you, all tucked up neatly on the forward bulkhead. And then over here, so this is a new 22 litre hot water tank system. So boat originally just pressurised freshwater cold pump with a single tap in the heads and the galley, and we've added massively to that. So you see the het pipe system that I've plumbed in, tucked down here, and that runs round. So we've got now a shower on the aft deck with hot and cold water, and also I've got second outlets on here which are going to tee into Volvo's system here. You can see I've cut the pipes in, just got the rubber hoses to fit, one here and one down on the side of the engine, so that's going to give us a hot water system off the engines as well. So there's been a lot of work in here. In hindsight, I almost could have taken the engines out. They've had a big service, so belts, tensioners, impeller, water pumps, had new fuel pumps last year. We've done rotor arms, cap, leads, plugs, still got the oars to do once she goes in the water to run her up, and we've had her running on muffs, so we know the engines are good. And then the drives themselves have also had a big service with new bellows, oil, anodes and what have you. So a lot of work's gone in the back here. You can see the autopilot pump hiding down there, so I've still got, this is all loose wiring just to tidy up. Obviously with all the systems going in, there's a lot of wiring to hide away. So that's the shower hiding in there. That's the hot and cold control for the shower. We put a socket in the back here, so I've got a nice carbon fibre flagpole. A little bit of gel coating to do, so I've just waterproofed the hole on the back where the old light used to be. We'll be putting a new light on top of the double stainless steel radar arch, which is going to sit up over the top of the canopy there to house, say, the new FLIR thermal imaging camera, the radar, the Windex, etc. once we've had it fabricated. So down the back here, just got a last coat of anti-foul to put over the trim tab system. So the boat originally ran an American hydraulic trim tab system, so we obviously removed that. We've got Lumishore SMX 53s, which are dual white and blue colour LED underwater lights here. So all new wiring here. Real Vision RV100 fish finder unit, which gives 3D structure scan of the bottom, and then I've got a second sounder going into the engine bay as a through hole, which is going to give speed, temperature and depth. So we're running stainless steel props. Drives themselves were all generally in pretty good shape. Had to put new, this one was leaking, so we've had this off and had it rebuilt. So I've got a final coat of anti-foul to put over those before she goes in. You see the boat's got this optional extended bathing platform, makes it quite user friendly with kids in and out of the water and what have you. And I've had the logos cut in on the EVA deck, something quite cool that Ty and his crew can do to your own specs. Space under the bottom here for the name. And if we come around the front here, you see a big flared bow. She's 20 degree dead rise hull, so very sure-footed in the sea. And you can see the little bow thruster control down here. Little prop in the hull, done by your Osmotech down at Hamble Point. Side power dealer. I've had the anchor out, calibrated the chain, painted and marked it. I've rebuilt the anchor winch. And she's had a coat of anti-foul over the hull. I think next winter we'll probably take all the anti-foul off back to bare gel coat, just so we've got a nice fresh surface, as it's getting a little bit more build up on there than I would like. But we're getting into the season now in June, and I'd like to get in the water as soon as possible, so we're not going to do too much more on the underside now. So last but no means least is the interior. I'm not doing much of a refurb in here this year, just running out of time if we want to get in the water for the summer. So I'm just going to show you, it's a bit of a work in progress at the moment, and it's my tool store for all the systems on the boat. So you have to look past all the bits and pieces in here. So we've got a bathroom here on the right hand side. So we've got a new Jabsco electric flush toilet. There's a little panel to go in there, sink with a pull out shower there, all new window seals, all the lights are being changed for LED independently switched, and then I've got new pumps here, so fresh water pump and the deck wash pump just going in under the floor, under the locker here. New seacocks, tap down there. I've stuck an extra 3/4 inch seacock in there in case I want to add something else in the future. Toilets going fresh water flush. You can see running the heating system in was quite a challenge. There's not a lot of room in one of these, so it's all tucked down neatly. So I've got an outlet here in the bathroom for drying out wet weather gear, and then I've got another outlet here in the front cabin. So there's a V-berth in the front here, so there's a table that drops in, drops down to make a bed. So lots of boxes and tools and what have you at the moment. And then the aft section here, once this is finished, this is a transverse bed that runs through here, full width of the boat, with access in here. I've got a plan in the future up the top here to build a cupboard and put a microwave in. Boat was running a gas system on top here originally, which we've ditched, and I'm going with a single burner electric induction hob on there, which can run off the inverter system in due course. Down in the bilge here, just putting a sump box in for the shower system. So that's pretty much it. So you might think I'm mad, here we are in June, haven't got the boat in the water yet, still quite a bit to do, hoping to be in the water in the next 2 to 3 weeks, so that we get the whole of July and August to use the boat. I've got a boat show in between, which is going to make it a little challenge to achieve that, but it's part of the fun for me, so it's getting it all finished. The sunshine now finally coming out, it's definitely helping things with the ability to work on the boats late into the evenings and what have you. So I hope you enjoyed that. I say it's very exciting for us to have something new to work on and can't wait to get her in the water. And I'll do a couple more follow-up videos as we finish off the works and get her afloat. Hope you've enjoyed that. Speak to you soon.